Welcome to Binge Watchers, where we talk about the stories and characters we love and the shows they live in. My name is Ron, and let's talk about the HBO series, The Young Pope. If you're wondering where I am in a hotel room in Ukraine, because life is weird, interesting, but weird. The Young Pope tells the story of Lenny Belardo. Lenny was left at an orphanage by his parents when he was a kid. He then grew up in that orphanage. He was raised by nuns and he became a priest, and then he became the youngest priest ever to become pope. The show follows Lenny in the first days of his papacy as he tries to make sense of his life and his faith, and he tries to realize this vision that he has for Catholicism and for the church that he now leads. Right from the beginning of this show, you think it's gonna be one thing and then it's another. This show was so different from what I thought was gonna be. It's a very complicated story about a very complicated character. Okay, in that sense, it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be, but you get it. Lenny is a very different pope from anything the people at the Vatican are used to. So a lot of this show is about those people trying to come to terms with his very different point of view and his very extreme methods of doing things. So this show is a very deep character study, mostly about Lenny, but almost every character in this show has a solid arc. I love a good character-driven show, and that's exactly what The Young Pope is. So I loved The Young Pope. Jude Law is so incredibly charismatic and powerful in this role that going into this show, I thought that, any number of actors could have played this role, but after watching it, no, it has to be Jude Law. He was fantastic. He's the one. There were specific little things that I didn't like about this show. There were moments that I wasn't a fan of, but I can't really talk about any of those without spoiling anything, and also those were few and far between. The aspect of this show that's not going to be for everyone is that this show does leave some stuff up to us, the viewers. This is something that I feel requires exceptional storytelling skills, because there's a fine line between loose ends, stuff that the story just never got to, and things that we can complete in our mind. It's the line between, they just didn't tell us what happened, this is lazy, and I like to think that this happened because of these reasons, because that makes sense to me. I might get some flack for this, but I think that the Netflix show, The OA, is an example of doing this not very well and pretending it's very deep and clever. And The Young Pope is an example of doing this extremely well, exceptionally well. One of my favorite things about this show is that it starts with Lenny already the Pope. So many shows don't follow this simple rule of, is there a more interesting time in this character's life? If there is, why are you not showing us that? This show could have easily wasted a few episodes on how Lenny became Pope and the politics of it all, but the show starts with him already Pope, it gets the story going, and then in the process, it tells us what we need to know about how he became Pope. It just feels like the right way to do this, the right way to tell this story. Other than Lenny the Pope, my favorite character had to be Voiello, an incredibly well-rounded and interesting character on his own right. Whenever it feels like a supporting character in a show is definitely interesting enough to have their own show and they could carry that show, like Saul Goodman, you have a top-notch supporting character. The Young Pope is an interesting point of view about faith, about crisis of faith, about the church itself and how people perceive it, from the politics of it and how it actually works, all the way to the core and value of it. I am very much not a religious person. I try to avoid talking about my opinions about religion and faith and God because people tend to get offended. And I don't mean that in the asshole way of it's their problem for being offended, I'm just saying what I think. No, I fully know and understand why certain points of view and perspectives will be offensive to people who believe certain things. Fuck, I can't even talk about this without sounding like an asshole. My point is that as a non-believer and a person who has issues with organized religion, I found this show fascinating. If I had to point out things that I didn't like as much about the show, it would probably be Sister Mary. I felt that Diane Keaton, compared to the very strong performances from Sylvia Orlando and Jude Law, had a much weaker performance. And there's a storyline they get to towards the end of the season that is kind of out of place and feels a little bit too scattered, but these admittedly are minor and nitpicky things. I just gotta hit my weekly nitpicking quota. Bottom line, should you watch it? I would say yes, definitely. I thought The Young Pope was really good. It's an intricate character study, and a masterclass in storytelling. It features an amazing performance from Jude Law as Lenny Belardo, who is a unique and fascinating character, and I hope to see more of him. HBO has commissioned another show in this world. It's called The New Pope. It's still in very early stages, so there are no details about it, so I don't know which people from the cast are returning for that season. I don't know if it's going to be like a season 2 of this show. We don't know anything, but I hope that Lenny and Voiello come back. What about you? Have you watched The Young Pope? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments down below. Just please use spoiler tags if you're going to be talking about spoilers. And also let me know if there are some other shows that are sort of religion themed that you like. Let me know in the comments down below. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TV Time. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. And if you're finding binge watchers for the first time, welcome. I'd like to invite you to join the binge watchers community. Come talk about TV with us. It's a lot of fun. Subscribe to the channel. But in any case, keep binging, and I will see you next time.